Welcome to Bake With Me. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we do anything else, click that subscribe button right there, right there. Thank you. Okay, awesome. We have a great show for you today. We are going to make vegan. That means it's dairy-free. And of course, like always, it's gluten-free. Cherry almond cookies. Yay! And I am going to introduce you to this wonderful, beautiful woman right here. Please help me welcome Tim Marie. Tim Marie, thank you so much for joining us. We have decided to make the vegan cookies because Tim Marie happens to be vegan. So she's teaching me something today because I don't traditionally bake vegan. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Tim Marie, can you tell us why I invited you to be with us today?
Yeah, so I'm here to talk to you about having generalized anxiety disorder.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that and why it's different than just having anxiety.
So generalized anxiety disorder, if you break it down to its basest units, is sort of like thinking about the worst case scenario over and over again for always and forever.
So it's not just being stressed, it's just, literally thoughts in your mind that
very
are
cyclical and very intrusive, and it's just always present no matter what the situation is.
Have you always had it?
I started presenting with it in like my teens, and then when I became a mother, it got exacerbated. It got much worse once I had my daughter.
Oh wow, I bet, worrying about things that could happen. Okay, so this is a perfect time for me to interject and start baking cookies, right? So let's start, and while we're mixing and stuff, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us. I know that that's not an easy thing to do, so I'm so glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's something that a lot of people are probably dealing with, and maybe not as vocal as you about it. All right, so first we're gonna mix our dry ingredients. We have 1 cup of gluten-free flour. And if you are making these vegan, please make sure that is a vegan flour as well, because they sneak funny things in things that you just
There's
have no
milk
idea.
powder and everything. you never think to look for it, but it's hard to find stuff without milk powder.
When I'm searching for gluten-free, it's the same. It's like so challenging.
Yeah.
So we also have 2 kinds of sugar. We have 1/3 cup of white sugar and 1/3 cup of brown sugar. And as always, I use organic cane sugar. We have, because we're not going to use eggs because this is a vegan recipe, we are going to use 2 teaspoons of ground flaxseed. And traditionally when you use flaxseed, you have to mix it first?
Normally you would mix the flaxseed with water and let it sit, but because this recipe is pretty liquidy, you don't have to do the soaking beforehand.
So we got it easy. 2 teaspoons of ground flaxseed. We have 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm going to stir those up if you don't mind putting together our wet ingredients. Sure. We have 1/3 cup of canola oil. Thank you. I'll take the bowl. And we have, 3 tablespoons of milk, but of course it's a non-dairy milk, so we went with almond milk. And 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Is there any vanilla that's not vegan?
No, usually the way that it's processed.
You're safe with your vanilla.
Yeah.
All right, so you mix that up. I can give you this after I stir these. So you said it got a little bit worse after you had your daughter. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that prior to having my daughter, it was very internalized, where it was only about me and what was going on with me, but then having another person involved in it, another focus, just made it a lot worse. After she was born, I remember the 3 months after she was born, I would just sit and cry and not really know why. Like, it wasn't the same as postpartum, because that's kind of like what people would, when I would tell my mom about it or whatever, she'd be like, maybe you have postpartum, but it wasn't a depression, it was like a fear. There was just a constant fear of, what if something happens? I would go and check on her at night, like every 30 minutes to make sure she was breathing. And I wouldn't, the intrusive thoughts come in because you get the thought and then you can't make it go away until you go.
Real.
Yes. Like, I would convince myself if I don't check on her every 30 minutes and something happened, it would be my fault, and I would be.
And when you're a brand new mother, you're exhausted anyway.
Yes.
So now you have fear on top of it. Now you're not sleeping even more than you're already not sleeping.
Yes.
Oh, honey, that must have been such a stressful time.
Yeah.
Has it changed since she's gotten a little bit older?
It has gotten less intense. I'm very fortunate that I have a background in counseling, and I had really good counseling to help me through it, and I have a lot of tools that allow me to be a little more reasonable about the thoughts that are going through my head.
Sort of learn where to place those.
Yes.
And you have this background and you have this knowledge. Imagine how many women and even men are sitting around with these thoughts that have no idea what to do with them. So if you are experiencing these things, please talk to somebody, because there are definite methods.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm very vocal about my anxiety with friends and with loved ones, and even on social media, because it's like a hidden thing. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, or they think that they're a bad parent or they're a bad person because they're having these thoughts that might influence the way that they treat their kids. Because if it were up to me, she'd never leave my house. She'd never leave my sight.
Bubble wrap
and she would be with me always, but I don't want her to have that kind of life or that kind of experience. So I've had to learn to cope a little more effectively,
so that she could have
fun and go out and do things and spend weekends with grandparents and
That's
things
amazing
like
that you do that. Thank you. All right, so we are going to combine our dry and our wet ingredients. We have a big glob of brown sugar. I was so interested in what you were saying, I completely forgot to mix. Okay. So we're just gonna plop that in there. This is so simple, guys. You too could have cherry almond, vegan, gluten-free cookies just by making this simple recipe at home. I'll hold on to that. You wanna grab that? Thank you. Wow, so that's challenging. Now I can kind of understand, like obviously I could never understand what you go through on a daily basis, but I've had thoughts like that. I have kids, and I've had, like, as soon as they started driving, I would have this anxiety, and I would picture, it's terrible, but like a movie, I would picture them getting into a car accident. It would be so scary. So those are the kinds of things that you experience every single day.
Yeah, so even there's this example that just happened the other night. I go to bed earlier than my husband because I wake up earlier. So I was in bed trying to fall asleep, and I heard my daughter call for me.
Okay.
And because my husband is the one that's up, he went to go make sure that she was okay, but I didn't hear him open her door. So then I was laying in bed thinking, well, what if he didn't go check on her and she's calling because somebody broke into her window, or she's having a seizure, which she has no history of seizures, by the way, but like it's just this intrusive thinking of what is the absolute worst thing that could be happening, and then it becomes such a real thing that I had to get up out of bed and go check on her. And my husband was like, I checked on her, she's fine. And I was like, okay, but I didn't hear him, so I couldn't stop myself. It's like a compulsion. Like you can't, I had to get up and check on it to make sure that she was okay.
Okay. So now what we're gonna do, thank you, that looks great. So we are going to add in 3/4 cup of, I can never say this word, help me out. Slivered, not slithered, that's a whole different thing. Slivered almonds, and 3/4 cup of dried cherries into our batter. So we're just gonna dump a lump. Is that a word, dump a lump?
Today it is.
So it's amazing that you've learned these coping mechanisms. Can you suggest any type of coping mechanisms for somebody out there that may not have those tools in their tool belt?
Sometimes I'll use grounding when I feel myself kind of spiraling out of control. That means that I'll pay attention to my breath.
Okay.
I'll listen to my breath coming in and out. I'll feel my feet on the ground, feel my butt in the chair.
Literally grounding yourself.
Yeah, literally grounding to what's going on in the moment. There's a therapist at one point taught me to do finger touch. That's another form of grounding.
So it keeps your brain
it keeps you kind of busy and active. And then also, it sounds like it wouldn't make sense, but one of the things that I'll do is when I start catastrophizing, I'll make myself say,
that's
okay.
That's a word.
Yes.
That's a thing. That's what's happening?
Yes, that's what's happening. Catastrophizing. So making it seem like everything's a catastrophe.
Okay.
I'll try to get myself to be very logical about, okay, what's the logical expectation that this is actually going to happen?
Okay.
What's more likely that's going to happen? And most of the time that helps. Now there are times when I do, like the other night in bed, where I can't stop myself. I have to get up and do the action. But there are a lot of times where I can kind of talk myself down from the things that I'm feeling.
Oh, amazing. It's really, truly amazing.
And it's like I said, it is truly because I had a lot of support. My family's very supportive. I talk about it a lot.
So
I have had counseling. You know, I've worked with a wonderful counselor that allowed me to kind of work through those kinds of feelings. So I was not able to do it on my own, and I would not have been able to do it on my own. And that's why it's really important that you're talking to somebody about it.
I love it. Thank you. Can I have that pan, please? We are going to scoop out some of these cookies. This batter here will make about 18 cookies. We use a tablespoon scooper, and we just scoop them out onto our pan. You're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. We're going to just squish that in there and pop them on our pan just like that. Or you might not make as much of a mess as I do. Do that just a couple times. We'll get about, like I said, about 18 cookies, 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes, and we will be back as soon as our cookies are baked. We are back and our cookies are baked, and this kitchen smells absolutely delicious. I have never actually tried these cookies, so I'm so excited. And Timmerie, I cannot thank you enough for coming here, opening up to us like you have. I mean, I think it's so special, and I appreciate you. Is there anything else that you feel our audience should know?
I would say that if you are struggling with anxiety disorder or any mood disorder, anything really, it's so important that you are talking about it to a counselor or to somebody in your trusted friend or somebody who can kind of help you work through the emotions and the things that you're thinking. A lot of people worry about going to see counselors because of price or because of availability, but if you have insurance, you can check and see if your insurance has any kind of coverage. And if you don't have insurance, there are a lot of resources within the community that will do sliding scale or nonprofit where you can get help for either a very low price or even at no cost. So I think that a lot of times when people have anxiety, at least I know I can speak for myself, you don't feel like you're worth anybody else's time. You feel like unloading is a burden, and that you're not worth it. It's not, you don't want to have anybody else to worry about you. And that's your brain telling you that. That's not reality. There are people that love you and care about you, and they want to be able to support you. And if you're not talking to them about it, then there's no way that anybody will know, because like I said, it's a silent issue. Yes. Somebody meeting me, knowing me not that well, would not know that I had anxiety. It's not written on my forehead. It's not something
and you're very personable, very outgoing.
Yeah, so it's not something that somebody will be able to tell easily. So it's really important that you're getting the support that you need to work through it, because it's very manageable if you have the support and the tools.
And you are worth it. You are absolutely worth it. Everyone has the right to feel good and to be well. And you might not even realize it's an issue until you see this, and then you say, oh wow, I have some of those thoughts. So definitely reach out, because there is definite help out there.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So these are your favorite cookies?
Yes, they are.
And I would absolutely love to try one. Can we do it?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna pick this one. Ready? Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my gosh. How is there no butter in this? It literally tastes like butter. That is so good.
Very good.
Thanks for the recipe. I will be making these again.
You
guys have to try this out. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being so open and honest.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll see you on the next show. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more information on the disability that you learned about today, click the link below, and please subscribe to our channel. Peace, love, and happiness.